There's a quiet fatigue that lingers in so many of us, the kind you can't sleep off. It's not just in your body, it's woven into your thoughts, your emotions, your hunger for connection. You wake up tired, you go through the motions, and somewhere deep inside, something feels dimmed. Like the flame of energy and desire that once burned bright has faded to a low, uncertain glow. But what if fatigue isn't just physical? What if it's a signal? A whisper from the body saying something deeper needs attention. Science now reveals that our energy, our drive, even our passion, are all rooted in the same biological orchestra. Hormones, neurotransmitters, and emotional wiring dancing in delicate harmony. In this journey, we'll go beyond sleep and supplements. We'll explore the hidden connections between vitality, intimacy, and the mind's secret chemistry. The kind doctor, Gabrielle Lyon, has spent years decoding. Let's go back to a moment you've probably felt before. A quiet evening, maybe after a long day. You sit still for the first time in hours. Your shoulders sink, your body exhales. But instead of peace, there's a kind of emptiness that hums beneath the surface. It's not sadness exactly. It's more like disconnection from your body, from desire, from that part of you that once pulsed with curiosity and life. Most people think fatigue is only about energy, but energy is an intimate thing. It's not just calories burned or sleep hours missed. It's chemistry. It's emotion. It's how your body and your mind learn to speak to each other. Somewhere along the line, many of us stopped listening to that conversation. The human body is a symphony of signals. Small electrical messages, quiet hormonal whispers, millions of cells waiting for instructions. When we feel alive, it's because that communication is fluid and honest. But when stress becomes the dominant language, everything shifts. Cortisol, the body's stress hormone, doesn't just tighten your muscles or quicken your heart. It dulls your sensitivity. It blunts your curiosity. It clouds the quiet rhythm that fuels desire and connection. And here's where the story takes a turn. Because fatigue isn't just the body slowing down, it's the body protecting itself. When you're emotionally disconnected, when intimacy feels distant or uncertain, the brain does something extraordinary. It conserves. It turns down the volume of your internal orchestra. That H behind your eyes, that fog in your chest, it's not weakness. It's the cost of emotional survival. Now imagine something simple. A moment of touch. The brush of someone's hand, the warmth of skin against yours. To the brain, that moment is not just sensation. It's a biochemical event. Skin is the largest organ we have, covered in millions of sensory receptors tuned to pressure, warmth, and vibration. When touch is safe, caring, or affectionate, it activates pathways that release oxytocin, a hormone so powerful it's sometimes called the molecule of connection. It softens the body, lowers blood pressure, calms the heartbeat. It tells your nervous system you're safe here. And in that safety, something awakens. Oxytocin doesn't act alone. It dances with dopamine, the neurotransmitter of anticipation and pleasure. Together, they create the emotional landscape of intimacy. Not just sexual desire, but the deeper, quieter kind, the desire to be seen, to be known, to belong. These chemical messengers don't just light up pleasure centers in the brain. They also switch on regions tied to trust, memory, and motivation. It's why a simple hug can change your day, why shared laughter can feel like medicine, and why the absence of connection can feel like fatigue. For most of human history, connection wasn't a luxury, it was survival. Tribes, families, communities. The brain evolved in the presence of others. Loneliness, then, is not just emotional pain. It's a biological alarm. Studies show that chronic loneliness raises stress hormones, suppresses immune function, and even disrupts the sleep cycles that repair your brain each night. In other words, isolation doesn't just make you sad, it makes you tired. Deeply, cellularly tired. You can see it in the small details of modern life. The glowing screens that promise connection but deliver noise. The relationships that skim the surface but never quite land in truth. the endless chase for stimulation that never reaches satisfaction. We scroll through faces, through words, through moments that almost feel like intimacy, but don't quite make contact. The result is an overstimulated mind and an undernourished body, flooded with dopamine spikes, but starving for oxytocin's warmth. And so, we feel drained, not because we lack energy, but because our energy has nowhere meaningful to go. The fascinating thing is that the same systems that govern desire also govern healing. When you're close to someone, truly close, your body syncs with theirs. Your breathing slows in rhythm, your heartbeats fall into subtle alignment. This is not poetic exaggeration, it's physiology. Couples who hold hands under stress show synchronized patterns in their heart rates and brain waves. The chemistry of calm is contagious. And this isn't just about romance. Emotional safety, the kind that comes from empathy, respect, and genuine presence, changes the way your entire body operates. It lowers cortisol, boosts serotonin, strengthens immune cells, even improves digestion. When Dr. Gabrielle Lyon talks about muscle as the organ of longevity, she's pointing to something bigger. That every cell in the body thrives in an environment of balance. Energy, strength, and vitality are not isolated traits. They're reflections of harmony between biology and emotion. The body keeps score, not just of trauma, but of touch, trust, and tenderness. Each experience of warmth, kindness, or genuine intimacy becomes a message to your nervous system. It's okay to open again. Desire at its core is curiosity, the instinct to reach out, to explore, to connect. It's as much about the mind as the body. The spark of attraction, that first flicker of wanting, begins in the brain's limbic system, the region that processes emotion, memory, and motivation. When we find someone intriguing, the brain doesn't just light up in one place. It orchestrates a symphony involving the amygdala, hypothalamus, and reward centers. Blood flow increases, dopamine surges, and the prefrontal cortex, the part that makes rational decisions, briefly quiets. For a moment, the world sharpens into focus, and one person stands out. This isn't just romance. It's biology's way of saying, pay attention. But attention itself has become fragmented. We multitask our emotions, half listen, half feel, half live. And in doing so, we dilute the chemistry of connection. Real intimacy, whether emotional or physical, requires presence. It asks you to slow down enough to actually feel. When you look at someone and truly see them, when you touch with awareness instead of reflex, the body responds in kind. It's not about performance or even passion. It's about attunement. The truth is, erotic health isn't about sex. It's about vitality. It's about reclaiming the circuitry of feeling alive. It's about reawakening the dialogue between the mind's longing and the body's intelligence. You can sense it in small, sacred moments. When laughter comes easily, when music moves through you, when your breath deepens during a quiet conversation. These are the fragments of connection that rebuild energy from the inside out. In the end, fatigue is a story your body tells when something essential is missing. It could be rest, yes, but more often it's meaning. It's the hunger for touch, for closeness, for recognition. It's the yearning to experience life not through screens and schedules, but through pulse and presence. Science can measure the chemicals. Psychology can name the patterns. But the feeling itself, that gentle ache that lives somewhere between the heart and the skin, is deeply human. So when we ask, why do I feel tired all the time? Maybe the answer isn't just about what's wrong, but what's waiting to be restored. The body is capable of extraordinary renewal. Every cell listens. Every emotion leaves a trace. And sometimes, all it takes to begin healing is to listen back. Maybe the fatigue you feel isn't failure. Maybe it's your body's way of saying, come home. Because energy isn't found in caffeine or adrenaline. It's born in connection. In the slow return to presence. In the courage to feel again. And as you begin to understand this, as science meets the softness of human experience, you start to see that the boundaries between physical health and emotional intimacy aren't separate at all. They're threads of the same tapestry, weaving the story of who you are and how you love and how you come alive. Music rises gently, piano and heartbeat intertwining. So maybe the next time you feel tired, you'll pause, not to fight it, but to listen. You'll notice what your body has been trying to tell you. Maybe it's asking for touch, or stillness, or a moment of truth. Maybe it's reminding you that the chemistry of energy begins not in the muscles, but in the mind's quiet decision to connect again. And when you do, when you let that connection return, you'll feel it, the warmth behind your ribs, the spark returning to your breath. That's not just energy. That's life waking up inside you. When two people share a moment of true closeness, not performative, not rushed, something ancient happens. The body, as if remembering an old language, begins to shift. The heartbeat slows, the muscles soften, the nervous system exhales. Inside the bloodstream, oxytocin begins its quiet work, binding emotion to biology, transforming connection into chemistry. It's the same hormone released during birth, during breastfeeding, during long embraces, nature's way of reminding us that survival was never meant to be solitary. Scientists call it the bonding molecule, but in truth, it's the alchemy of trust. Oxytocin doesn't just make you feel good, it rewires how you perceive safety. When it flows freely, the amygdala, the part of your brain responsible for fear, calms. The body's defenses lower. You become receptive, open, grounded in a sense that you can be seen without danger. This is the foundation of emotional intimacy. Not the grand gestures or perfect words, but the subtle permission your nervous system gives you to stay instead of run. Think about the last time someone looked at you with real attention. Not the distracted kind, not filtered through obligation, but the kind that lingers, the kind that says, "I'm here." That gaze, sustained and soft, can release as much oxytocin as physical touch, because presence is touch too, just a different kind. Our chemistry listens to emotion like an orchestra takes cues from a conductor. The tone of a voice, the warmth of a hand, even the rhythm of shared breathing can send cascades of neurochemicals through the bloodstream. Dopamine, often mistaken as the hormone of pleasure, is actually the messenger of anticipation. The quiet hum before fulfillment, the spark that says something meaningful is coming. It keeps us moving toward connection, toward reward, toward that fleeting sense of aliveness. But when life becomes predictable, transactional, or emotionally distant, dopamine fades and we begin to lose not just excitement, but curiosity itself. Curiosity is the root of desire. It's not purely physical. It's the brain's way of exploring the world, of leaning toward what might nourish it. Every crush, every spark of attraction, every quiet longing begins as a question: what would it feel like to know you? When that question goes unanswered for too long, when we stop exploring, stop connecting, stop risking truth, our biology adjusts. The pathways that once fired with anticipation begin to dim. Fatigue sets in, not because life is exhausting, but because it's lost its texture. And here's what's most extraordinary: you can rebuild that chemistry. The brain is endlessly adaptable. The same circuits that once dulled with loneliness or stress can light up again through trust, through touch, through small, consistent moments of care. Emotional bonding doesn't just change the mind, it reshapes the body. Couples who maintain deep emotional connection over time show lower inflammation markers, stronger immune responses, and even longer telomeres, the tiny caps on our DNA that slow aging. Love, in its truest form, is regenerative. Imagine a moment of quiet closeness. No words, just breath. Two nervous systems, each with their own history of pain, uncertainty, hope, begin to synchronize. Heart rates align, body temperatures adjust, and oxytocin levels rise in tandem. It's a dialogue that bypasses language entirely. This is what trust feels like, not the absence of fear, but the gentle awareness that you can relax into another's presence without bracing for harm. Touch deepens this dialogue. Underneath your skin, sensory receptors called see, Tactile afferents respond specifically to gentle, slow caresses. They send signals directly to the emotional centers of the brain, not the regions for analytical thought. It's why a single hand on your back can dissolve tension in ways words never could. It's not metaphor, it's anatomy. Touch tells your brain you're not alone, and that changes everything. Because the body doesn't heal in isolation, it heals in connection. When you hug, when you laugh with someone you trust, when you fall asleep beside a heartbeat that feels familiar, your nervous system recalibrates. Stress hormones drop, pain thresholds rise, digestion improves, and the immune system strengthens. These are not small effects. They are the biological foundations of well-being. But somewhere along the line, we began to treat intimacy as optional. We compartmentalized it, something separate from health, something indulgent or secondary. Yet, the evidence is clear. People who experience consistent emotional and physical closeness live longer, recover faster, and show higher resilience against depression and chronic illness. Connection isn't the opposite of medicine. It is medicine. What makes this story even more profound is how the mind participates in it. The prefrontal cortex, the seat of decision, empathy, and moral reasoning, lights up during acts of love and compassion. In moments of genuine affection, this region communicates directly with the hypothalamus, the command center of hormone release. The brain doesn't just think love, it creates it molecule by molecule. And those molecules reshape the body's landscape, regulating heart rhythms, balancing hormones, even altering gene expression. We are, in every sense, built for connection. The more we understand this, the clearer it becomes that erotic health, the intersection of emotional and physical vitality, is not about indulgence or desire in isolation. It's about integration. The way your mind, body, and emotions converse through sensation, memory, and meaning. Desire is not just wanting someone, it's the physiological expression of life force itself, the instinct to merge, to expand, to feel. And that instinct is sacred. You can see it even in the smallest gestures. The way a child reaches instinctively for a parent's hand. The way friends lean toward each other mid-conversation. The way lovers breathe the same air without realizing they've matched rhythms. Connection is a reflex written into our DNA. When it's honored, energy flows. When it's ignored, fatigue creeps in. The beauty of this truth is that it gives you agency. You can't always control stress or loss or the demands of modern life, but you can return to the body's wisdom. You can slow down. You can reach out. You can remember that the chemistry of vitality begins with something as simple as attention. Real, undivided, human attention. When you listen deeply to someone, when you share your truth without armor, when you allow yourself to be held, the body translates those moments into biochemical harmony. Oxytocin surges. Dopamine steadies. Serotonin, the hormone of contentment, rises gently. It's as if your internal systems are saying, this is what safety feels like. This is what aliveness means. And it's not just romantic love that creates this. Friendship, family, even brief but sincere human moments. A smile exchange with a stranger, an honest conversation, a hand offered in kindness, all spark the same networks of empathy and connection. Each of these moments feeds your biology, reminding it that life is a shared experience, not a solitary pursuit. Dr. Gabrielle Lyon often speaks about muscle as the organ of longevity, but perhaps connection is the muscle of emotional endurance. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. The more you exercise presence, the more resilient your chemistry grows. You start to notice that tiredness feels different when you are connected. It softens, becomes natural rest instead of emptiness. And when you wake from that rest, the world looks a little sharper, colors a little deeper. You remember that desire is not a demand. It's a reflection of vitality, of how open you are to experiencing life fully. When the heart feels safe, desire doesn't drain energy, it generates it. It becomes the quiet fire that fuels purpose, creativity, and joy. The great paradox is that the more we chase stimulation, the constant buzz of novelty, the the scroll, the next thrill, the less alive we feel. But the more we cultivate depth, presence, and genuine closeness, the more energy we have. Because energy at its essence is coherence, the alignment between what you feel, what you need, and what you allow yourself to express. So the question isn't how do I get more energy? The question is where have I lost connection? Maybe it's in the conversations you no longer have. Maybe it's in the touch you rush through, the emotions you silence, the truth you hold back. Fatigue often hides in those unspoken spaces. The cure isn't always in more doing. It's in deeper feeling, and the science agrees. Researchers studying the effects of love and touch have found that even brief moments of affectionate connection can regulate cortisol for hours. The body doesn't need constant intensity, it needs authenticity. The nervous system recognizes sincerity faster than it recognizes beauty or perfection. That's why we're drawn to people who make us feel safe rather than those who only make us impressed. When love is honest, even in its imperfections, it heals. And when we begin to live from that understanding, something inside us shifts. The old fatigue, that quiet hum of disconnection, begins to dissolve. In its place, a steadier rhythm emerges, a kind of embodied calm. You begin to realize that energy was never missing. It was simply waiting behind the wall of stress and performance, waiting for the body to believe it was safe enough to open again. This is the art and science of erotic health, the rediscovery of vitality through connection. It's not about intensity, but depth. Not about more stimulation, but about meaning. Because the truth is, you were born wired for aliveness. Your body has always known how to generate energy, how to love, how to heal. It only ever needed the conditions, safety, trust, touch, truth, to do what it already knows. So as we come to the end of this journey, let's return to where we began. The quiet fatigue that hums beneath the surface of modern life. It isn't weakness. It's a message. A message from the body that says, remember me. Remember that energy is not in the rush, but in the resonance. Not in what you chase, but in what you allow yourself to feel. Music softens. A piano and heartbeat pulse slowly align. In the end, what awakens us isn't more noise, but more truth. The gentle truth that we are built for connection. That our biology, our psychology, and our deepest desires are not separate systems, but one symphony, each note influencing the next. When we listen closely, when we nurture the bonds that make us human, the fatigue begins to lift.